My name is Katy, Juliano. I'm an animal keeper at the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all, so this is the start of a whole bunch of interviews that may get interrupted for more timely things here and there that I recorded on my recent lengthy trip. So as most of you know, I attended the AZA mid-year meeting as well as the joint ABMA IAATE training conference. And the first one was in Atlanta. The second one was in Cincinnati. And so I spent a bunch of time at the facilities in those areas, as well as traveling and hitting up different facilities basically every day on my trip. So we've obviously done the recaps. So this is the start of going through all of those facilities. And my very first stop was driving down to Atlanta and hitting up the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute. And I got to sit and talk with Katy Juliano, who I've known for a while. We've spent some time with the Binturongs, Hank and Lola at the zoo together before. And it was really cool to get her story and talk about those animals and so many other amazing animals that she takes care of. We dive into one of the coolest things at the National Zoo, which is something that most people will never get to see, at least from kind of the inside. And I'm going to leave it at that. You'll hear about it in the episode. But before we get to all of that, just a quick reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes. Make sure you're following along on the socials at Rossifari, at Rossifari Pod on the TikTok machine. And you can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. So, with all of that said, it is time to get to it. Join me on my way to the National Zoo, where we will chat with Katy Juliano. Enjoy, y'all. Yeah, what's your title here?
Oh, yeah, I'm an animal keeper. I'm in the lion tiger department. Sometimes we're called the gray cats department or the carnivore department. But yeah, we have lions, tigers, Andean bears, and a bunch of other random things.
It's finally happened. Ever since I started this podcast, no one has actually worked with lions, tigers, and bears and said it in that order. You just
Here
did.
It is. I know. When we all say it, we try to avoid saying lions and tigers and bears. They're like lions, tigers, and bobcats, and lynx, and bears. And people still are like, lions, tigers, and bears. Like, oh.
I've been doing this for almost 6 years, and nobody has come out and just been like, the animals I work with are lions, tigers, and bears.
Just get it over with.
Thank you for that. A perfect start to the goofiness that is this podcast. So, very cool. Awesome to have you on here. Yeah. And so let's dive in on who you are a little bit. So, did you always know you wanted to work with animals? What's your kind of history like? How did you get to the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute?
The whole thing. Well, if you want to go way back, when I was in high school, I was actually a classical musician.
Okay.
I was pretty sure I was going to go to college for it. I was doing it kind of seriously. And, I did a few college auditions, and when they came to, the actual interview and them talking to me, I had no answers. And I kind of knew then that it wasn't really the passion that I had. So I went to school. I went to the University of Maryland, College Park.
Hold on. Pause.
Oh.
As a professional musician myself,
yes.
I need to know, what did you play? Tell me,
Yes, I played double bass.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, nice. And I also did jazz.
Okay.
And I did jazz bass guitar, jazz stand-up bass.
I love, as a drummer, bass players, right? Like the link is, that's so cool. Did you still play at all, or was it something you walked away from?
No, I still have it. I still play. I did play in college, even though I didn't study in college. I did really like it. It just wasn't a perfect fit for me.
Sure.
But I love it. And bass people are cool.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like I would go to a new orchestra and be like, hey, what's up? And all the bass people would be so cool. They'd be like, what's up? Just really cool people. You know, there's all sorts of stereotypes about what the people are like that play every instrument.
Yeah.
So that's always nice. And I still keep in touch with some of those people, and they're just cool people.
I love that so much. That's so cool. Okay, but back to the stuff that everyone else cares about.
Yeah. So I went into college, and I was going to study biology, and I knew I wanted to do stuff with animals, but I thought, you can't make a living doing this. But I ended up...
I'm sorry. I just really love that you were like, I can make a living as a bass player, which everyone is like, no, you can't. And then you're like, well, but animals.
Well, I thought, you know, I'll go to college, I'll get that stereotypical high school teacher music job and just move on. But yeah, animals, I was like, I'm going to work for an animal shelter for free and never be able to even afford rent. So I was like, this is a stupid idea. But I went to the University of Maryland. I started studying animal science really blindly. And then going into my sophomore year, I applied for an internship here and got it. I don't know how I got it. I don't know how that happened. So that was 2012. Yeah, 2012, I had an internship here. And it took, I like to say 2 days because I'm very practical. And one day I was like, you never know. And then by the second day, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. What were you doing with the internship? Like, what was...
Yeah, it was an internship here in this department, which is kind of wild.
That's insane.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Because that's, what, 13 years? 14 years?
Wow.
So that's kind of crazy.
I love that so much.
And that wasn't my plan, right? And you know, in the zoo world, they're so competitive. There's no guarantees. So it just really fell into place.
It also means, though, like, the other side of that is that you were really good.
I hope so.
Because they wouldn't have kept you under. No, right? But I mean, like, seriously, this is the National Zoo, yo. Yeah. They get applicants. If they want you here, they want you here. And that's really cool, you know?
I was trying really hard.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. I had my internship here. The internship, I think that was the last time they did it. They only did it for a couple years, and it was like a combination behavioral husbandry research project, which I look back at now and I'm like, you can't do a behavioral research project in 2 months. Yeah. But it was a good experience. We did some husbandry stuff. But after a month, I started volunteering at the Ape House. Okay. I was like, I knew the internship ran out, and I was like, I am not leaving. So I did whatever I could. So then while I was in school, I volunteered here. I ended up volunteering my last semester in senior year. I had my classes stacked on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I would be here Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, every other Saturday, and every Sunday.
Sick.
That's why I say, like, so I was working.
Wow.
I knew I needed a job. I knew it was time where I could get experience and not have to worry as much about paying rent. So I was like, I am doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was great. I mean, I did still some of the coolest things I ever did when I was volunteering. I mean, we used to, back in the day, the volunteers could hand feed the apes.
Wow.
So that was incredible. Just a lot of really cool experiences. Yeah, so I worked really hard. I had a few interviews for different jobs, and I kept not getting them. And then luckily, Craig is my current supervisor 14 years later. And I remember he told me, like, you should apply for this commissary job. And I went home and cried because I was like, he doesn't want to hire me. He thinks I should go to the commissary. But that's the way things work here. Yeah. You apply for a job. Places, they hire from that position for different things. And someone retired a little early, and I got hired.
There it is.
Yeah, and that was 11 years ago this August.
Sick.
That's crazy.
That's so cool. Also, I think Craig, so I've known Craig for years now, and what a special person, you know? And one of the things that I like about Craig is if he sees something in you, he will go to bat for you, he will push you, he will help you. Mm-hmm. He won't hand you things. That's what I really love about that story too. Like, he's like, go apply for this job because this is the best thing for you to do. He's not just going to say, you know, here's your dream job, right? Yeah. But he gave you this ability to get in the right way, do it correctly. And same thing with me. I met Craig when I was baby podcast, you know, when I had very few listeners, and he heard about what I was doing, saw what I was doing, connected me with people, and has encouraged me from the start. And now that it's like a pretty popular, pretty cool thing, he doesn't hasn't changed. He's still just a really good person, good friend, call me when you need, whatever. And I just think like people like that are so important in any industry.
He is. So people always ask, oh, did you want to be in this department, in this unit? And we have cool animals, so I see where they're coming from. But it was because Craig. Mm-hmm. If he ever listens, he'll have to like pretend I never said these nice things about him.
He does hate it.
Yeah,
He really does. I know.
But I had worked in 5 different units in the zoo as a volunteer, and I met different managers. And I knew, Craig's, like you said, he's the guy that takes the volunteers aside and explains everything. He gets to know who they are. He knows who they are as people. And after I got hired 2 years later, I went back to one of those other units to help with like an Ayacook inspection tour. And I won't say who it was, but the curator came out and was like, oh, so you've never been in this building. Let me explain it to you. And I had volunteered there for over a year.
Oof, that's rough.
So, and curators are busy people.
Sure,
They've got things going on.
Everyone makes mistakes.
But
absolutely.
One of Craig's greatest strengths is fostering new people. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful that that's like I said, I wanted to work for him. And I'm so grateful that I did.
That's so cool. I love that. I think I look back at early Rossifari because this should not work, right? Like, let's be honest. Zoos, now that I'm part of safe programs and I'm like a known thing, whatever. But I launched a podcast as a professional drummer interested in zoos who knew nothing about them. That shouldn't work, right? Zoos are transparent to a point, but it's scary to bring someone in and not know what their agenda is and all that kind of stuff. Now, I have a track record and a following, which is cool, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But early on, I met people like Jake Belair, who was at Nashville and is now at the National Aviary, and Craig, and just a couple of other people who saw something in me and had enough connections to help me. Yeah. And I strongly believe that I would have failed miserably at this if it wasn't for a few people like that.
Yes.
And so when you have someone like that, it's so magical.
It is.
Yeah.
And to further toot Craig's horn, you're welcome, Craig. But we were talking a little while ago, some of the keepers and I, about how many interns we've had that have gotten hired on. And I think a big part of that is that Craig has connections, like you said. Mm-hmm. He gives good references, but he also takes the time to know these people, and he'll go to bat for them. Mm-hmm. So we've had let's say 10 interns in the last 4 years, and I think 8 of them are working in the zoos.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's something I think we're all really proud of, but a lot of that is Craig.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. However, Craig will eventually be a guest on this podcast if he's ever, free to do it. He said he's willing, but the man is too busy for me.
Yes, he is hard to nail down.
So we'll let him tell the rest of his story. Yes. But getting back to yours, so you have been here for 11 years in this capacity now. Yeah. And so you mentioned that you work with, obviously, lions, tigers, bears, but you do have other animals that you take care of. So what are some of the others that you take care of?
The Binturongs. The Binturongs.
That's where we first met.
Yeah. And I talk about lucky. I've been their point person since they got here. Oh my gosh. But yes, Binturongs, lynx, bobcats. Right now we have bat-eared foxes.
Ooh, they're so good.
They are very cute. So cool. What else? We've worked with other animals too. Fishing. We used to have a bunch of fishing cats. We used to have caracals. We used to have giant anteaters. This was way back. 10 years ago, but they were incredible. We've had peacocks briefly. We have a bunch of porcupines, Patagonian maras. Yeah, a lot of variety.
Nice.
Prairie dogs.
So how do all of them fall into big cats?
Yeah, it's an older zoo. So it's really just we geographically take whatever small exhibits are down here. We have a lot of smaller exhibits. Like our prairie dog exhibit was built in the 60s. Okay. It is only designed for prairie dogs. Right. We can't have anything else. Same with our porcupine exhibit. So we end up having some creative species choices for those exhibits. Yeah. That's why we had giant anteaters. It wasn't a great space for them. We moved to Patagonian maras. It wasn't a great space for them. Now we're talking about possibly putting peccaries in there. Ooh. I know in the past they had New Guinea singing dogs in there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's just,
that's cool.
But it's a weird old exhibit, so we're trying to find a good fit for it.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about my favorites, Hank and Lola. Let's talk about my friends. Tell me everything.
Like I said, when I started in this unit, I was like, I'm here because I like the team, I like the manager, I like the people, I'm good with every animal. And the more time I spend with them, the more I'm like, why would I do anything else?
Yeah, right?
And it's so opposite to what I wanted to do, but they're amazing. They're amazing. And they continue to surprise me, and they continue to do new things. And I've never had an animal that's so cute that, like, my eyes well up sometimes when I watch them. They're amazing.
They really are.
They really are.
Yeah, so let's talk about their individual personalities, because they've got them in spades.
Yeah.
And they are very different the two of them.
We have such a pair.
Yeah, right?
I'll have to show you later. We have fan art that somebody made about them.
No.
And it's a picture. I haven't seen him in a while. It's just a really nice photographer that would come by. And it's a picture with their faces, and it says, whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Hank, get out of the way. That's pretty accurate to who they are. Yeah. Hank he's just a sweetheart. He doesn't care about anything. He likes meeting new people. We have been able to do, every training project I've tried to do with Hank, he just does. There's no training necessary. Like, Hank, do you want to be in a harness? He's like, oh, you got a grape. The harness is on. What happened? Hank, you want to go in this crate? Hey, how did I end up here with this banana? Like, he does not care. He's so good. He loves meeting new people. He loves smelling people. And he's one of those guys that people meet him and they instantly melt. We do tours, of course. We do tours for people. They'll come by and they'll see the lions and the tigers. And then we take them to Binturongs. I have more people come back and ask about Hank than any of our other animals. I literally had a college student come up to me and was like, I came here a few years ago with my mom. How's Hank? He's got a fan club. And he deserves a fan club.
Oh, yeah.
He's incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Lola.
And Lola. and Lola.
Incredible. Just a very different kind of behavior. Very cute, very intelligent, but very different behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lola does have a reputation, but I want it on the record that I love her.
Sure.
She's just... You ever heard of type A and type B fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Lola's the type B. She's just as rewarding. She's so smart. She's one of those animals you can see her like calculating and doing the calculus in her head, and she's thinking about what's going on, which means that she's extremely interesting to train, extremely interesting to work with. She's thinking about things that Hank doesn't care about because he's Hank. So it makes you think a lot more about what is going on and what there is to care about. Sometimes she's cuter than him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes she's cuter than him. She has this way of standing up on her hind legs because he really can't. He has arthritis. So he doesn't really do it very often, but she stands up on her hind legs and she stretches her head out for fruit. And she looks like a little baby toddler standing up. I like to call it Lola Plinko. She'll stand up and she can't quite reach the opening on the door. So I'll wiggle my fingers around and drop the fruit in and she'll catch it. And I'm like, yes, Lola Plinko success. Yeah, she's special in her own way and beautiful.
She is.
Hank could never.
No.
Hank is always scrungy and dirty and he's got stuff in his tail. And she's like, how could you ever walk around like that?
She's a cat, he's a dog.
Yes. That's such a good way to explain it in every way. Yeah, because people will be like, is that animal aggressive with Hank? And I'm like, my cat's probably meaner than him. But Lola's probably more cat-like. Yeah, she's got her own priorities and she knows what they are.
Yeah. They are both so great, though. I just love them.
Yeah, I love them.
I'm curious. So I know they're older, right?
Yeah, Hank's going to be 15 this year.
Okay.
So they're getting up there, yeah.
Right. Was there a breeding wreck? Is there a breeding wreck? Is there hope for bintlets?
Yes. Okay. So this is such a saga. So when they first came here, she was still on birth control.
Okay.
And I don't know if not receptive is the word, but they just live separate lives. They're neighbors. And then their second summer here, we had an eclipse because I kept telling people it was because of the eclipse. It was not because of the eclipse. But like 3 days after the eclipse, they suddenly started breeding.
Interesting.
And they're my first Binturong pair. So the behavior change was fascinating. They had completely opposite personalities, all these new behaviors and vocalizations. It was amazing. And then they bred pretty consistently 3 separate like week-long periods that year. And then again, 3 separate week-long periods the following year. But every time they breed, I have like a little calendar. I keep track of little notes. We weigh her. I get my hopes up, but I don't think that she can breed.
Gotcha.
She's been in, I think this is her 4th facility. And her last facility, she developed uterine fibroids. That's why they put her on birth control. So it's unlikely that she will have kids, but they try.
Okay.
Hank loves her. Every time they get together, he makes cute little noises and calls to her, and he's obsessed. And she's kind of like, you remember I'm like scarier than you, right? But they'll probably breed this year, and I will keep my little calendar and keep my hopes up. And Craig will be like, they're not going to have babies. Stop it.
Fair. I will say, I've gotten to spend some time with bintlets, and they might be the cutest baby animals. There is something about a tiny little prehensile tail. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So keep those fingers crossed and tell Craig you can stick your tongue out at him for me, because hopefully bintlets come, because they truly are. And I would be so curious to see what those two would produce.
Yes. I would be interested to see how the dynamic changes between those two.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Maybe Lola would be much sweeter, but I could also see her being like, no one gets near me. And we'd have to I don't know, bring Hank somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Very cool. Yeah, no, so I love Binturongs, but we can't do the whole episode focused on them.
Yeah.
So obviously we're talking about some giant cats, some great cats, as you like to call them. So let's talk about some of the lions and tigers that are here.
Yes, we have to talk about Shira.
Okay.
Shira is tied for the oldest lion in the United States.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's awesome.
She's amazing. She's feisty. She just yelled at Craig this morning, which I took great pleasure in. But yeah, she's 21.
Okay.
So Shira's been here. She came from a facility in South Africa when she was 3.
Okay.
She's been here for a long time.
Wow.
She had 7 kids. She and her sister, who lived here with their shared boyfriend, Luke, who are zoo royalty. So we have to talk about them. They have over 40 descendants in the United States and Canada.
Wow.
They have done their job. And thanks to social media, we can keep track of everybody.
Right.
So we have a little family tree, and we see the little social media updates when they move or there's kids born. So that's nice. We get to know what, is going on. But yeah, she's 21. Her 2 sons are here. They're the last 2 of her kids. She loves them, and she screams at them, and she yells at them all the time. And I'm so excited that she's still here. 21 to me seems amazing.
Yeah, that's really
amazing.
Really cool.
And for her to be 21 and still have a really good appetite, still have a lot of attitude and yell at people and yell at her sons, she's not as active, and she's definitely wobbly, but she still likes to go out, sleep in the sun, go all the way up to the top of the exhibit and roar. I'm very lucky. Very grateful person.
Very cool. Yeah. No, that's really, really special.
She's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Tell me about some other lions.
Her boys are here. Her 2 kids, Shaka and Jumbe. And people always come in and they go, oh, they're so handsome. And I'm like, oh, they're such big dummies. They're great, but they've never... So when their dad, Luke, was here, he passed at 16. And they just turned, what year is it, 2024? So they just turned 12, I think, if I'm doing the math right. At this point, he already had 14 kids, something like that. So he was a very different lion. He knew boys from girls, for people. He would be sweet to girls. He would be mean to boys. He was really nice to the girl lions. He had great social skills. And these 2 have never been with anybody except for their mom and each other and their sister. And so they're just kind of jerks all the time. But that's not their fault. They don't know socially how to behave, right?
Right.
Their dad at a very young age learned how to be with girls and how to be appropriate and how to stand his ground and fight back but not be too much. And they have not. So they are just big dummy heads. They don't care about anybody, I don't think. They're just really loud and disruptive. So people come back and they're like, they're so handsome. And I'm like, they're big pains in the behind. But they are beautiful. They're fun. They're big boys. They're both when they're heavy, they're both around 500 pounds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they're big guys. Yeah. And 2 of them together, spooning and cuddling. It's really cute.
Aw.
They're nice
awesome.
to have, yeah.
Very cool. And then tigers?
Yeah, we've got 3 tigers right now. Demai is 17, so she's also super old.
Yeah.
She just gets overshadowed by Demai. And she's a Sumatran tiger, and she actually came here 2 months after my internship started.
Oh, wow.
So when people are like, how old is she? I'm like, oh my God, how old is she? She's the queen. She's tiny. She's 180 pounds.
Wow.
So tiny, perfect. Probably gets spoiled the most, everyone's favorite. And then we have a pair of young Amur tigers. So that's going to be interesting. We have Vostok, who's our boy, who's 3 or 4. And then Sova is our girl, and she's 3. And they are both relatively new. They came in the last year and a half, and we are going to try to breed them this year.
Nice.
So that's going to be interesting. We have tried to breed 2 other pairs of Amur tigers before. The first pair fought instantly. It went really bad, really fast. We had to use everything we had to separate them. She had a punctured trachea. She had developed like a really bad infection. He had a huge cut on his leg. One of the grossest, not the grossest things I've ever done, but one of the grossest things I'd ever done was cleaning up afterwards because all the blood clotted on the floor by the time we got in. That was gross.
Rough.
And then our second introduction, the 2 of them liked each other and would hang out, but there was no breeding. So we have a new female, we have a new male, and actually yesterday, I think is the first day we saw super strong cycling behaviors from her. So that'll be a good experience. You know, it's introducing tigers is a lot, but we have a team now that's very experienced. And after having an introduction go pretty bad, I think we're pretty prepared.
Good. Yeah. And I mean, that's what happens, right? That's, you know, that's what happens in the wild. That's what happens in facilities like they're tigers. That's just what happens.
Yes. We're lucky that, you know, you don't want to see a bad experience, but Field Tag has some great resources. And so we had seen a lot of videos of introductions, including ones that went wrong, and used it for staff training. So we all knew when, you know, it did go wrong, exactly what to do, and we all had a role, and I think that made it so that we could get them both out alive.
Right, yeah, which is awesome, and which is the goal in that situation, because they wouldn't have been in the wild, or one of them wouldn't have been, or, you know, I think it's definitely one of the things where, like, you know, the anti-zoo crowd can be like, oh, well, that shouldn't have happened, but it would have been so much worse in the wild.
I mean, she developed a bad enough infection, she would have died without veterinary care.
Exactly.
And they were together for 30 seconds? So, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, very... harrowing. I've always thought it's interesting because I am I tend to be mostly a small mammal guy. Like I pretty much love everything, but like I'm involved with the red panda safe program and the tree kangaroo safe program, and I love binturongs and sea turtles. Those are like my big 4, and so like there's not a whole lot of, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had some scratches from red pandas and stuff, but it's not quite the same as 2 tigers in the same space figuring out whether they want to, you know, have fun or not. It's tricky, but that is one of the cool things about, you know, what facilities like all AZA facilities do. Sharing that information, having the field tag, all of that stuff minimizes the risk as much as you can.
And, you know, I think it helped for us to be able to turn that, which is just what happens, not like anything went wrong, but to be able to turn that into a learning moment for other people as well. Makes it feel like, you know, even though it wasn't a great outcome, some good can still come from it.
Right. I actually think I have this theory that you know, runs through my head and I talk about a lot, which is that, like, I think part of why there is such a loud, they're small, but loud, like anti-zoo crowd and stuff, is because for so long, none of the bad stuff in the wild was ever shown. If you watch the documentaries from the 80s and 90s especially, every predator always catches the prey animal and eats well and lives well. And then they show the pristine wild that doesn't really exist. And you talk to some videographers and they spent 16 hours to get the 15-second clip of the perfection, you know, or if it's a prey animal, they always get away, you know, whatever you're focused on. And it's not true. But because of that, you don't get to see the animals starving in the wild or the mating when it goes poorly. You only see the, you know, oh, these are pretty pristine tigers in the wild, and look at this family of kitties. It's so cute. And that's not what it is. And I think there's a certain group of people who genuinely believe that's what it is, and because of that can't picture anything else being okay for animals, but it's not. I watched years and years ago the documentary The Last Lions, and in it they have a young, I don't know, 3-month-old, 4-month-old lion cub whose back gets broken, and you watch as the mom leaves it.
That was the last animal documentary I ever watched because I was like, I can't do this again. But yeah, it's a very different style of documentary. And I've had people come up and talk to me about that and be heartbroken.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's so funny with what's going on with Punch the Monkey right now because people are so obsessed with this macaque and they don't understand why it's getting treated like it is. But you talk to any primatologist and they're like, yeah, it'd be worse if there would be no stuffed animal in the wild, right? Like, first of all, Punch would be dead. Second of all, if for some reason Punch wasn't dead, all of this abuse would be so much worse and there wouldn't be a safe space to go to and all of that. And I hope it will open some eyes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. But so one of the interesting things here, if I remember correctly, isn't there, maybe in this building, but somewhere here, isn't there like an office where you can see into the tiger habitat?
Yeah, right here where we are.
Oh, okay. Is that what that is right over there? Oh my goodness. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to stand up. Oh my gosh. Yes, this is it. Okay. So I found out about this room years and years ago. And I was always like, oh my gosh, someday I want to be in there. So the fact that I'm in here right now is really funny.
Yeah, you can see the other offices to your left.
Yeah. So for those listening, I'm just at the tiger moat now.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Yeah.
You're like eye level with the water.
Yeah, this is so cool.
So the two new tigers we have, relatively, swim every day.
Nice.
For like an hour to two every day. And they come and look in these windows every single day. And some of the people down here are animal curators, and some of them are not animal people.
Sure.
So the first time one of our, it's like a supply ordering person, saw a tiger come up to the window, she ran out of the building. And I couldn't even blame her. I'm like, it's scary. She said, I don't know what that window is. I'm like, you don't know what that window is. I would be scared too.
That's incredible,
cool.
Though.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you find that things like that inspire you and your team, like even when you're stuck in a meeting? Because we're in a conference room right now. And then all of a sudden you can actually see, tigers.
Well, our office is back in the lion tiger, like right across from one of the enclosures. Shira normally is there.
Nice.
So it does help when someone's talking too long, who's normally Craig. They start roaring, and then we all have to be interrupted. And then you go, all right, time to get back to work. But you do learn to just wait out the roaring, and then you get back to your conversation.
That's really funny. Yeah. No, I always find it interesting at zoos, even people that work with animals. It's like any extra animal time is still really special.
Yes.
So very, very cool. And then, so bears.
Yes. We have the two, I don't want to be biased, but we have the two best bears we have ever had right now.
Nice.
I did the math the other day, and we've had something like 13 Andean bears here since I've worked here.
Wow.
It is a lot of bears. We are one of the few facilities that has bred really consistently. We also have a relatively big building for Andean bears. So like the Queen Zoo, one of our bears that was born here moved there. She had a bunch of kids. So when she was breeding, we would take the male so that she could raise the kids. And then when they were done, we would take the cubs and send the male back to them. So we were like their extra holding facility. So yeah, we've had 8 cubs born since I've been here. A lot of cubs.
Wow.
We've had a bunch of different males come through. We've had 3 different breeding females come through. All the cubs is a lot of bears. Yeah, but these 2 we have right now. So Sienna is 3. I have to say it, Billie Jean's the bear matriarch who had 1 billion babies here, who is related to more than half of the population. She's done a great job. So Sienna is Billie Jean's, I believe, great-granddaughter. And then we have Keto, who we got from Germany a few years ago. So Keto's already had 2 kids. They're at, you probably say it better than I can, Potawatomi.
Potawatomi, yeah.
Yeah, Potawatomi. Yeah. So that's where they are. And then Suyana is here. And Suyana is the most active, hilarious bear we've had in a long time. She's the only one we have that can climb down into the dry moat consistently.
Nice.
So we get calls like at least once a day, I think, about, your bear's escaped, is in the moat. I was down there on Sunday, and she climbed all the way up one of the trees, and people were freaking out. They were like, she's gonna fall. What's going on? She's up there jumping and breaking the branches, and people were panicking. By the time she climbed down, everyone clapped for her like a bad story. She's great. She loves to mess with people, but sometimes female Indian bears can be very sassy, and she's just a goofball. She likes to lick people's hands. She's very silly.
Oh my gosh.
And then Keto is the perfect gentleman. Loves every bear, loves every person, just wants to have peanuts and talk to you and get little scritches on his chin. He's just an angel. They're perfect.
That's so great. That's awesome.
I love the two. We've had great bears, don't get me wrong.
Right.
These two are perfect.
Oh, that's so cool.
They're fun.
So I'm curious, we were talking about all these great animals from, obviously Hank and Lola to the oldest lion ever to, and I'm so curious about, like, you didn't come into this field intending to be with these animals.
Yeah.
So first of all, what were you hoping to do, planning to do? What was the dream?
Oh, yeah.
And then how has being here, changed that? Because I'm looking at your water bottle, and all I'm seeing is Binturongs. I mean...
They're an exception. They're amazing.
By the way, I have to tell you this. So my birthday is March 31st.
Oh, nice.
And my wife is really bad. She's really great at giving gifts and really bad at... waiting to give me gifts. As soon as they come in, it's like, here, open your birthday gift. And I'm like, so this year she got me a couple of new shirts. One of which is a Binturong playing the drums.
Oh,
like, just like an artist. And I was like, why did they just make a shirt for me? That's so weird. But I thought you would appreciate that.
That's perfect for you. That's right. What was my dream? My dream was to get a job.
Fair. Very fair.
Paid. And then I had a lot of other career goals after that, a lot of which unfortunately have hit, but they weren't species specific.
Okay.
And what has changed? I still like everything. I've been able to cross-train at Amazonia, and people know I still talk about how that was one of my favorite things ever. I got to wear a wetsuit and go in one of the big tanks, and that's so different than what I normally do. I loved that.
It's such a cool feeling.
Oh, my God. And their tanks are... And help with fishing anesthesia?
Oh, my gosh.
What do I know about fishing anesthesia? So cool. Oh, it was amazing.
The first time you put on the wetsuit, did it feel, like, really special?
Oh, the second they said, do you want to put the wetsuit on?
Right?
I ran. I was like, do I want to put the wetsuit on?
As soon as it was on, I was selfieing like crazy. I was like, I'm in a
gosh.
wetsuit. This is so cool.
Yes. And they were like, some people feel conscious. And I was like, I just want to go in the pool.
Yeah,
I don't care
exactly.
What pool we go in. I was so excited.
All of the body dysmorphia went right away because I was doing animal stuff.
Yes.
Yep, 100%.
That was amazing. A lot of the keepers here know one of my favorite animals is tortoises.
Okay, nice.
And I keep trying to get them here. And Craig's like, we're not getting tortoises. And I'm like, we could get them in this yard, or we could get them in this yard.
I'm just going to say tortoises are not only a great animal in general, but are a great animal for, like, older yards that I'm going to put that out into the universe for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I keep trying to get tortoises in here.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love torts. Actually, I was at the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo probably 2.5 years, maybe even into the podcast. And the person I was interviewing, John Moffat, was like, hey, we were walking right past the Galapagos tortoises. And he was like, oh, I guess we could feed the tortoises quick if you want. And I got really excited because my first love were turtles and tortoises. Okay. And I never had met a Galapagos tortoise up to this point. I'd met, who in this world has not met a tortoise when they've met red pandas, binturongs, right? Like all of these things. And the answer was me.
Yeah.
And so after, we did that and I hung out with the tortoises for a bit and I fed them and stuff. And afterwards we walked away and I was like, thanks, that was really magical. And he kind of was like, haha. And I was like, no, I've never met a Galapagos tortoise before. And he was like, oh, I assumed you'd fed like 100 of them. And now I have. And it's still amazing, by the way. Oh,
yeah.
But no, it was so special. I love tortoises so much.
Love tortoises.
They're so cool.
They say, if I get rich, I won't tell you, but there will be signs. I'll have a house with a big tortoise room in it. That's if I get rich, that's what I'll have.
I really like
that. I love tortoises. Yeah, and I've been able to work at, like, I did some help with the animals at the vet hospital. I've helped out at Asia Trail. I've helped out at Africa Trail. I like meeting animals and learning about animals I've never worked with before, obviously. Like, Amazonia is so cool to me because it's so different than what I know and so outside of the norm.
That's so funny and so interesting to me because most people that I talk to for this, whether they got to the animal that they already loved and then it just built, or they got to a new animal and fell in love with them and then it built, most of the people that I interview definitely are like, my favorite is this animal that I work with or worked with before, and this is why, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas even though I clearly have my favorite animals, I love meeting all the things and getting to know and interact with all the things. And it's, it's interesting to meet somebody else with kind of that vibe who actually works, you know, in a facility. That's very cool.
Yeah, when I was first looking for a job, I didn't feel like I had one animal and it really scared me because I met a lot of people that were like, I'm only working with apes, I'm only working with elephants. And I was like, why don't I feel that way?
Right.
And I met a keeper, Regina, who's now at Living Desert, I believe.
Nice.
Who was like, I like everything and I still like everything. And I was like, great, didn't know that was an option, but that's what I feel like. And it's a good advantage because then when we do get peacocks or peccaries or more porcupines.
Or tortoises.
Then I'm like, yes, I'm so excited. I'm 100% on board. And some people are like, can we go back to the tigers?
Right.
Fine with me. I will go hang out with the peacocks.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to say about your time here, the facility, any of that stuff?
I would be remiss to not mention that I'm the bobcat stud bookkeeper.
Oh, that's important.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is so unique. You know, you know plenty of stuff about stud books, SSPs, and things like that, but there are so few that are, we call it orphan programs.
Okay.
And by we, I mean the other orphan program people than me. It's a unique position because there's no breeding, right? But you take in rescues. So instead of making a breeding and management plan, having a little committee of people, we get together and we say, okay, what's the future going to look like? I am trying to make contacts with fish and wildlife people, with non-AZA facilities, trying to learn as much as I can about what we do have in zoos, and then place bobcats, which is really rewarding. And I had no idea. This was just one of my lofty career goals, right? Was to do a stud book one day. I did not really know what that meant. And then when I got this and was like, oh, I have to place animals, it was a whole different ballgame. And I love it, but it was such a surprise.
That's really cool.
It's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just preparing stuff for like the year in review, and I helped place 7 bobcats this year. And to get to see the photos of like little kittens that get placed, and you know, they come from pretty bad circumstances most of the time. A lot of rescue pets. So that's my shout out. Please don't try to have a bobcat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
No.
It doesn't go well. No. And then the bobcat can't, of course, be released back into the wild. But yeah, it's just been a cool set of challenges and a cool opportunity to work with, like I mentioned, the other orphan programs, which is like black bears and cougars and, you know, talk about the same experiences. And it feels like it's contributing to local conservation, which I'm a big hiker and I love going to the national parks. And I actually saw a bobcat in Death Valley years and years ago. Scared the crap out of me. So it's been surprisingly extremely meaningful to me.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Stud bookkeepers are kind of my heroes because it's so much and it's so challenging. And you know, you can't screw up, especially for some of the smaller populations or the orphan populations. If you do, well, things can be bad, right? Yes. So, like, when I first discovered this world, the first 2 people that I considered like heroes in the zoological field were Sarah Glass, who is the red panda SSP coordinator, and Lisa Daybeck, who does the same thing for tree kangaroos. And I just, like, you know, they're my Jane Goodalls. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think it is such an important role. So thank you for doing that. That's really cool.
Luckily, this one's not that important.
Oh, they're all important. Stop it. They're all important.
I like placing the animals and stuff like that, but I can just mess around with the actual program and go, well, no one's going to look if I screw it up. Because one of my coworkers, Lee, is on the steering committee for tigers, and she manages the generic tiger population, and that is a different ballgame. And it should be. Yeah. It's a very different set of challenges, and they're very serious about it. But she'll show me notes, and we'll talk about her meetings, and I'm just like, I'll just do my little bobcat stuff over here. Because that's the big leagues. That's serious. Yeah, that's a different level.
Yeah, very cool. Is there a conservation organization you'd like to give a shout out to?
You know, this is not what you asked, but in the same vein of local wildlife and local conservation, I would just say support your local animal shelters. Keep cats. Don't have outdoor cats. Keep cats inside. They're messing up the, environment. And if you support your local animal shelter, then you'll be able to help with, cat population. which will help all the local animals we have.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. And then it is time. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
Oh, the Rossifari poop story. Yeah, I have a lot of close contenders. Like I mentioned, cleaning up tiger blood clots. That was fun. Weirdly, once I cleaned up just cat vomit, and I was in like a back runway, and my face was like 3 inches away, and that was a tough one. But my grossest story, which I normally do not share sober.
Hold on, I've got actually a bottle in here.
My grossest story was in college. I went to the University of Maryland. I worked on their campus farm. And I had no horse experience before then. And I had to remove the bean from a gelding. And I did not know what that was. And it was quite an experience getting there. See, I don't even want to go into the details because it makes me blush. It was just, it was a lot.
Look, it'll only be like 10,000 people that hear this. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, so to clean the bean from a gelding means that you put your hands inside of the opening that houses their penis. You use your hands to remove the extra tissue in their sheath, and then you remove their penis with your hands, and you work out a little bean of scudge from the tip of their penis. And I was just not prepared for that experience. It was in a class with a bunch of other people there. And the poor horse, I don't know if he liked it or he hated it, but his little lips were quivering and his eyes were big. And it was a whole thing. So nothing I've done here, that was it. Nothing I've done here has ever been grosser than that.
Yep, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep. Give me all the cat vomit.
And the horse people are listening going, I do that all the time. But it was a lot for me, okay? I didn't know.
Very fair. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming by.
Oh, that was so much fun. I hope y'all enjoyed that one, even half as much as I did. And yeah, so like I said, this is the start of a big road trip adventure, and I think y'all are going to really enjoy a bunch of the stuff that's coming up. So don't miss an episode. And don't forget that you can support the pod for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. Thank you to all of my current patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin. Meow. We'll be back on Friday with a brand new Zoo News episode. And until then, remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.
I'm an animal keeper at the Smithsonian's Conservation.
Womp.
Already wrong.
Smithsonian's
National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute.
Yep.